Welcome back to The Deep Dive. Today, we're looking at some really fascinating source material, all about a bold, and I mean really bold, new project.
We are. It's about transforming a historic retail space into, well, a full-blown media engine for the 2020s.
Yeah, they're taking this century-old landmark, something built for, paper ledgers and radio, and plugging it straight into the age of global streaming.
And micro content, which is key.
Okay, let's unpack this. What actually happens when you smash together the legacy of a 1920s department store with modern broadcast tech?
Well, that's the central question, isn't it? The project we're focused on is the Donn Allan Experience. It's happening in San Pedro, California, but the implications here are, frankly, global.
For any downtown, really.
Any downtown that's gone quiet. The sources make it really clear this isn't just a renovation. They're installing a whole new operating system.
An operating system for a building. I like that. So let's set the stage. What was the problem they were trying to solve here?
It really starts with the atmosphere of the place. The heavy silence.
The sources get pretty emotional about that. They describe a specific kind of sadness inside the building.
They do. That heavy, dusty silence. It's what happens when decades of just human energy, commerce, it all just evaporates.
And that silence, that's really the enemy they're fighting against, right? It's like a physical symptom of economic decline.
Precisely. We're talking about the 1922 JC Penney building on West 6th Street. And you have to remember, JC Penney wasn't just a store.
It was an anchor.
It was the anchor. The founders talk about the ghost of a bustle still being there. You can feel the memory of foot traffic, but the actual people, the energy, is gone.
So where did it go?
The sources are very direct about this. It migrated to glowing screens in living rooms. And that one phrase right there, that's the whole economic foundation for this entire project.
The transaction space just moved from Main Street to the internet.
It moved. And that reframes the entire problem. It's not just a retail failure.
It's a failure of attention, a failure of presence.
Exactly. And if your audience isn't walking through your doors anymore, you have to find a way to broadcast your presence to those screens where they actually are.
Which brings us to this problem with historic preservation everywhere. For so long, historic has just been another word for it.
Obsolete.
Yeah, obsolete. The model that built this beautiful building is dead, so it just stands there like, what did the source say? A grand forgotten instrument.
A grand forgotten instrument. I love that phrase. It's just waiting for someone to figure out how to play it again.
So how do you play a 1920s department store for a modern audience? That seems like the central challenge.
Well, that brings us to the founders, Edwin Duterte and Jennifer Wolfe, and their vision. Mm-hmm. They didn't see an artifact. They saw a tool, a piece of commercial machinery.
So they didn't buy a museum?
No, they bought a machine. And their whole plan is to turn that machine back on, but for a totally different purpose.
They talk about not wanting to preserve the ashes, but to reignite the fire.
And here's where it gets really interesting. They're literally replacing that heavy, dusty silence.
With what?
With the roar of creators and cinematic lighting. It's such a powerful image. They're flooding these dark, quiet spaces with the glow of modern production equipment.
And they connect that back to the building's history, which is clever.
Yeah.
There's that line about how history is not repeating itself. It is rhyming.
Right. And that's their bridge. It lets them embrace all this new tech without betraying the building's past.
So what's the rhyme?
Think about JC Penney in 1922. It wasn't this quaint, old-timey thing. It was the high-tech of its day.
A disruptor.
A total disruptor. It brought in standardized pricing, national merchandising. It plugged San Pedro right into the national economy. It was a cutting-edge engine of commerce.
So the original engine brought goods to San Pedro.
And the new engine, the Donn Allan Experience, uses the new machinery of commerce digital media to send San Pedro stories out to the world.
That's the rhyme. Honoring the lineage of disruption by becoming the new disruptors. Okay, so let's get into the nuts and bolts of this new machine. The sources detail two primary components that are replacing, the old shelves and cash registers.
Right. The first one is the heart of the operation, the engine. They call it the Voxel Micro Video Labs.
Okay, let's break that down. What exactly is a Voxel lab?
So these are 16 professional studios installed right in the belly of the building.
The belly of the building. So the basement, the stock room.
Exactly. The place where they used to store inventory. Mass-produced goods waiting to be sold. Now that same space stores the raw material of our age. Ideas. Stories.
And Voxel, that's not just a random name, right? It stands for volumetric pixel.
That's a great point. It signals this isn't just for flat 2D YouTube videos. They're thinking about immersive content, 3D, AR, VR. It's about future-proofing the production capabilities.
And the micro part.
That's about access, making them plug and play. So a small business owner, the lonely entrepreneur we'll get to, can walk in and get cinematic quality without a huge Hollywood budget.
It's democratizing production.
It's turning a stockroom into a cathedral for the creation of stories. That's the quote. Giving a local bakery global transmission power.
Okay, so you have this engine of creation in the belly. Then you move upstairs to what they call the playground.
The San Pedro local markets, yeah.
Yeah.
Which sounds traditional, but its main feature is anything but.
The giant digital wall.
A massive 16 by 30 foot immersive digital wall right on the ground floor. And they're very specific about what they call it.
A beacon.
It's a beacon. And it does two things. First, it's a huge signal to the street that this place is alive, moving, and connected. Retail isn't static here.
And the second thing.
It's the tool designed to reverse that migration of attention we talked about.
So the content from the Voxel Labs downstairs
Gets broadcast immediately, spectacularly, right onto the street level. It's a brilliant closed-loop system.
So you create the story, then you amplify it in a way nobody on that street can possibly miss.
You're literally forcing people who are walking by, heads down in their phones and their glowing screens,
To look up.
and see this monumental screen showing them stories from their own community. It's basically a technological intervention in urban design.
Okay, we have the place, we have the tech. Let's talk about the people. The founders' titles are, interesting, we have Edwin Duterte, the builder and strategist.
Which makes sense. He's handling the architecture, the business model, the tangible stuff.
But then you have Jennifer Wolfe, the storyteller and healer. Healer is not a title you see on a real estate prospectus.
No, it's not. And when you put those two roles together, builder and healer, you realize this is as much an emotional project as it is a commercial one.
They call their company a mom-and-pop holding company.
Which is so deliberate. In the context of this massive tech-forward project, that phrase signals something different. Community, stewardship, not a faceless corporate developer.
So who are they stewarding this legacy for? The project's name is the Donn Allan Experience.
And that's the key. The names above the door invisibly are Dr. Alan Wolfe and Dr. Donna Lee Wolfe.
The Donn and Allan.
It's a portmanteau of their first names. The entire project is a tribute. And their core lesson, according to the source material, was that a real legacy is built by one thing.
Opening doors.
Opening doors. And that's the whole philosophy. The Voxel Labs, the digital wall, they are conceptually just tools for opening doors for local businesses that have been shut out of the global conversation.
So they're not opening doors to sell pants.
No. They're opening doors to, and this is the quote, sell the very idea of San Pedro to the world. It completely flips the building's function, from inward consumption to outward promotion.
Which brings us to the emotional core of this, the why. The sources talk about a specific pain point they're trying to solve.
The pain of the lonely entrepreneur. I mean, to put that at the center of a commercial development project it's a huge statement.
Let me push back on that, though. Is this focus on healing and emotional safety a real business model? Or is it just, very good branding to make a risky project seem more appealing?
It's a fair question.
Yeah.
But the sources suggest it's genuine because they say they've developed a specific healing solution for this pain.
A specific solution.
Yes. And we have to go back to the roles. Why is a married and family therapist, Jennifer Wolfe, getting into commercial real estate? Why does an investment strategist, Edwin Duterte, care about emotional safety?
What's the connection?
The connection is that they see the isolation of a small business owner, that loneliness of shouting into a void because your customers are all online. They see that as an economic problem. Loneliness causes business failure.
So the healing solution isn't therapy, it's commercial.
It's a tangible commercial solution. They heal the pain of invisibility by giving that lonely entrepreneur a voxel lab and a giant digital beacon.
They validate them by giving them a platform they could never afford on their own. They make them impossible to ignore.
That's the takeaway. That's the spirit driving this whole machine. They're moving past just fixing a building. They're fixing the isolation that caused the building to go quiet in the first place.
So what does this all mean? It means the problem for local business isn't product quality. It's media visibility.
It's the inability to compete for attention.
And they've decided to put this entire historic building complex in service of fixing that one problem.
It's a media center, a production house, and an amplifier all in one. The building itself becomes the stage, the studio, and the speaker.
So let's bring this all together for you. What they've really achieved here is this functional transformation. They're using Voxel Labs and a digital wall to turn a 1922 building into a media engine.
Fulfilling that promise of the next century of retail.
Right. They're making the retail space a producer of content, not just a place for consumption. They took a building defined by being obsolete
And turned it into the ultimate tool for relevancy.
And that transformation, by focusing on opening doors, it raises a really interesting question for you to think about.
It does. When we talk about real disruption today, is it really about the technology itself, the cameras, the screens?
Or is it about who you choose to amplify, who you choose to validate?
By focusing on that local business owner and giving them a cathedral for the creation of stories, they are making a powerful statement.
That success isn't just about sales per square foot.
It's about emotional validation. It's about community stewardship.
Just think about that shift. Moving a physical space from being purely about consumption selling things to being entirely about creation and broadcast, sending local stories out to the world.
It changes the entire purpose of what a downtown center can be.
And on that note, I think we can say the silence has definitely been broken.